We'll start with Eric McKinney.
Graham, that Utah defense, that's the first defense you've seen this year that also, returned the guy that you went against last year in terms of the coordinator. Were there big differences in what they did, kind of this being their second shot at your offense at USC?
Yeah, it was really nothing. Last year, and I don't know if it was because of the success we had against the man coverage they played on us last year, or if it was because, they have a really young defense. But, we weren't expecting them to play a decent amount of man just because that's kind of in their DNA. And besides short yardage situations, I don't know if we got a single snap of it, And so a lot more two safeties than we expected and zone coverage. But again, with having no tape, we didn't really know what to expect. So we just kind of expected they do what they do. And in the past, they'd shown that the man coverage is kind of who they are, and they didn't play us in hardly any man coverage. So it was a lot different than it was the previous year, a little bit different than what we expected. But I thought our guys did a decent job adjusting.
Is that a blueprint that you're seeing? Is it the same kind of looks as you get more and more film of this offense out there for other teams?
I think that Utah, I don't think they're just going out there and dialing up a new defense that they've never done. But I do think that we do see a lot of softer coverage, it seems, and dropping a lot of people into coverage has kind of been something that a lot of people have tried against us. Again, and we don't see a ton of man, but which surprised me from Utah. It doesn't, a lot of teams, that's just not who they are. Utah in the past, that's who they've been. But with, again, losing 9 starters, I think, from last year's defense and a lot of those guys to the NFL, I don't know if it had more to do with us or more to do with them having as many young guys and as many inexperienced guys as they had on that defense.
Ryan Karchi.
Good morning, Graham. I know you talked for the longest time about Keaton taking a leap in year 2. Now, crazy enough, we're actually halfway through his second season. Where have you noticed a leap in that regard?
I think that like I've talked about from the beginning, where Keaton is really doing a good job, and where we've needed him to do a good job is just being kind of the leader of that offense and really the leader of the team, the guy that people can look to. And he probably hasn't been as his sharpest all year, but when times get tight, if that quarterback's a real leader, if that quarterback's a guy that they can rally the troops around him and can get guys to step up in big situations, then good things usually happen. And I think that's what you see from Keaton a lot. And especially those first 2 games where we weren't playing real sharp and it didn't look great for us when we needed him the most, he made plays for us. And a lot of that I think has to do with, like I said, he just stepping up as a leader and being a guy that people look to and being a guy that can rally the team, that can rally the offense and the team around him.
What would you say he needs to do to be sharper?
I think that just relax and play. And, I think the first couple games, I guess the balls were slick. And so that's what he said. So some of the throws that came out of his hand, I don't think it had to do with not being sharp. I think it had to do with that he thought the ball was going to slip out of his hand. So he wasn't throwing with a ton of confidence. Last game, he spun the ball a lot better. And, I think that obviously helps the cause. And, but the key is just always, like I said, relax, play, have fun. And when you do that, good things usually happen.
Let's go to Ryan Young.
Graham, when you see Keenan Christian break a 47-yard run, kind of reminiscent of what he did last year, does it make you think about trying to find more opportunities for him in this offense?
I think that he has a special skill set, especially with his speed, and that was good to see. And with the running backs, when you got as many as we have, and when they're all healthy, I think that sometimes on the sideline, people just kind of get into the flow of the game and roll with whoever they're rolling with, And so, I don't think there's any ever a plan not to get Keenan in the game, because Keenan, like I said, has a really special skill set, and when he gets in open space, can do some special things with the football. And so, it was obviously good to see him bust one. The Vi's a very consistent guy that does everything right, and we thought he was playing good ball last week. So he carried the majority of the load, but it's nice to have, no matter who's in there, we can always put Keenan in, and again, when he gets in the open field, he's pretty special.
Then the running game as a whole, you've had some big runs each of the last 2 weeks. If you take those out, the rest of the runs kind of average around 2.2 to 2.5 yards to carry. What's your overall concern with the consistency of the rushing attack?
I think if you look at any team, if you take big runs out, the average isn't going to be great. So you just got to keep running the football. That's you got to be committed to the run. And like I said, understand you're going to hit some for 2, you're going to hit some for 3, you're going to hit some for 4, and then all of a sudden you're going to hit one for 50. And that's how teams average a lot of yards carrying the football, is they hit big plays. And so that's not just running the football, that's throwing the football too. If you take out negative yardage runs, if you just say, well, if you eliminated the negative yardage runs and looked at the average, I bet the average would be pretty good. Well, if you take out the explosive runs, the average is not great, And so I think that, again, committing to the run and staying with it and believing in it and understand that's going to help us all the time is something we got to do. And so, again, you're hitting them for 2, you're hitting them for 3, and then also you hit them for 50. That's how you get explosive runs is you got to stay committed to it.
Thanks.
We'll go to Ryan Abraham now.
Ryan's in a row. Hey, Graham, so just wanted to get your assessment of the offensive line, what you think they've been doing well and where they need to show some improvement.
I think that they've played pretty well as a whole. And again, we've leaned on them a decent amount just from the standpoint of we've been committed running the football. And a lot of that has to do with them. And I think that, especially, Dede had to play 1 week and Brett, but those guys are doing a great job of recognizing pressures and, communicating with them for the most part. Brett's really, really intelligent. And Utah showed us a couple blitzes that we hadn't seen in the past, and Brett got us in a really good call to try to pick it up. I think the key to be for all of us, across the board on offense, but particularly, if you're asking about the O-line, is now, I don't think that they've ever gotten beat necessarily because they didn't know it was coming. They just didn't do what they were coached to do at times. They just got to be consistent, be disciplined, to use the proper technique. On the sack fumble, we hadn't seen that blitz. That was a new blitz for them. Brett got us into a great call and had us hatted. And then, like Jalen just didn't take the sets that he's been coached to take and ends up getting beat around the corner, And so I've been really proud, especially those centers and the guys doing a great job of recognizing things and being smart and understand what we're trying to do and getting us into good calls. I think that the key, and again, it can be for any position, but O-line is just be disciplined enough to do your job the way it's coached, the way you're coached to do it over and over and over, and so that's going to be, like I said, for anyone, but for those guys, I don't think that we're getting beat most, they're not, I don't think that they're ever getting out schemed. I think that just every now and then, either they're not communicating. Like I can remember that one of the short yardage situations against Arizona, we didn't get the communication right. We should have fanned out, and we didn't. The guy came free off the front edge, or we're just not taking the proper technique to put ourselves in a position to be successful. If you do those things, and I know that's pretty generic, but that's probably for everyone. If you kind of if you're disciplined enough to do your job, to do the techniques you're taught to do, I think that, like I said, those centers in particular have done a great job getting us into good situations that would allow us to pick everything up that we need to pick up.
And when you can't do an on-field practice and you have to do stuff virtually, what kind of stuff can you do to get the team ready for a game, coming up in a few days?
I think the only thing you can really do is kind of watch film with them and then have meetings with them and try to prepare them as much as you can for, hey, these are some looks and this is what we like and this is why we like it. You have a little more time to do that because you obviously don't have a practice to go to. A practice isn't restricting how much film you can show them, but it makes it difficult, obviously. I'm a guy that believes in practicing and practicing a lot. So it's frustrating when you can't get on the field and work with them, because, I think to improve that, that's what I talk to our guys about all the time, is the only way I know how to improve is to go out there, practice, and get better at it, and so not being able to practice is, it can be frustrating, but you got to do what you got to do, and still try to find a way to prepare. And so, I think that you can slow it down and watch a little more tape and explain a little bit more on video, virtually. So we've had the ability to do that, and hopefully they retain the information, they're locked in, and can make up for it from a mental aspect.
Now let's jump to shotgun.
Hey, Graham, how have you felt about Keaton's eye discipline so far this season?
I think that he does a pretty good job. I think that last week I think he stayed on a couple reads longer than he should have stayed on them. And if he would have moved on, then we would have had a chance to. I think we would have had some other completions, but other than that, Keaton wants to do things exactly the way you coach him to do them, and that's what makes Keaton as successful as he. I mean, one, he's very talented, and two, he wants to be coached, and he tries to do things exactly how you coach him to do them. And so, I think that Keaton does a really good job on anything we ask him to do, and so, one of the sacks last week, I thought he should have. He stayed on a big post longer than he should have stayed on the big post, and if we would have moved on, he probably avoids the sack and gets a completion to Tyler. But again, I don't think that that's necessarily his eye discipline. I think that's just him wanting to take the shot and not having it and staying on it too long. And so, like I said, Keaton does things the way you coach him to do them, and he wants to be coached. He's a guy that you love having, because if you tell him to do something, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it the best he can, and try to do it just how you told him to do it. And so that's one of the reasons he has as much success as he has, to go along with his talent, and why he's so fun to coach.
And another guy you love to have, Elijah Vera Tucker. What has he meant having him back on that offensive line and kind of locking down left tackle?
Yeah, Elijah's playing as well as I've ever seen an offensive lineman play. He's that kid is I mean, there's not enough good things you could say about him. To me, he's been the definition of consistent. I mean, if you want to see what a really good offensive lineman looks like, go watch the last 3 games. I think that, and again, he's the guy that he's very competitive. He's obviously very talented, but he also does things exactly how he's asked to do them, and so he puts himself in a position to be successful, and he. Obviously, it helps to be as big as he is and as athletic as he is, but at the same time, he's doing things exactly right, and he's fun to watch. I can remember last game we ran on one of our explosive runs. We ran one back power to the left, and he blocked 3 guys on one play. And you see it on film. It looks really simple, but I've never seen anyone do it except him. And so. Having him all back in was obviously huge for us. The team voted him as the captain of the team, so obviously that's how much respect he has of his teammates. But I think a lot of that's because of the way he works, the way he plays. He's big, he's physical, he's as quick twitch as I've ever seen for a guy that size. You know what I mean? And does things exactly the way he's coached to do them. And when you put that together, you got a really special alignment.
Time for one quick question from Ryan Karchi.
Graham, the yards per pass attempt is down a decent amount from last year. Is that a product of what defenses are giving you guys, or do you feel like this offense could use a little bit more downfield passing?
I would love to throw it down the field, but I think that everyone's plan is to try to prevent that, and I don't blame them. And so, that's what I think that everyone's game plan is against us, or what it's been against us. That doesn't mean that it's going to continue to be that way, but I think that one of the things that most teams try to do is take away explosives, and that's not a bad idea. And so, just like I was talking about earlier, Utah came out and tried to play a lot of man coverage last year, and we threw the ball over the top of their head. This year, they didn't play a single snap of man coverage. They were playing extremely soft, and their whole game plan was to not get beat deep. And so, I think that I've been proud of the way the guys have continued to battle and take what the defense gives them. If they're not gonna let you throw it over their head, you're gonna have to check it down, go on longer drives. You're gonna have to run the football, and that's what we've been able to do. And so, I think that again, that's what most people's game plans are. I mean, I would love for people to come play tight and let us throw it over their head, but that's just not what people. I mean, like I said, that's. I think people are afraid of us doing that, and so therefore their game plan is play soft, don't let them throw it over your head, and try to keep everything in front of you.
Okay, Graham, thanks for joining us. I know you've got some things to get off to, and we do have Coach Orlando on with us. We've got about 10, 11 minutes with Coach, so let's raise your hands again for questions for Coach Orlando. We'll start with Ryan Young.
Todd, aside from the results and the turnovers, what was the area of most specific improvement that you saw in the unit last week?
Just the physicality part. I thought we played really free and loose, and that's what we were looking for. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought we hesitated a little bit in the earlier games, and in this one we didn't hesitate at all. And we just ran and we hit, and it was fun to watch.
And what's your concern about the linebacker depth of EA and Raylan? They're both.
No, just to me, it's just getting guys reps in practice. So this is USC. So if you're here in this program, you can play. So it's our job to make sure that they're right when they get on the football field, and to do things according to their skill set too. So we'll be smart about it.
Let's go to Mark Culkin.
Morning, Coach. Over the first few weeks, your group has taken a lot of heat for the production on the field. They really stepped up in Salt Lake City. What did you take away from that? What did you see that really brought their game to that next level, including with the guys that you're missing due to injury?
Oh, it's like I said. I mean, to me, my issue with and I got specific in terms of positional group, which I can, because I got to get better at coaching the guys up. But just there was hesitation, and we're not going to be that way. We're not going to hesitate. We're going to be the guys that are going to be the aggressor. And I just thought that game on Saturday night was, that's what we want. We want to see guys go out there and throw the first punch and run to the football and hit somebody as hard as they can. So I just thought it was good to see those guys just cut it loose and not worry about being exact and being perfect and not hesitating. So we just got to build upon it.
Ryan Karchi.
Todd, what was the biggest difference you saw in Kanai, especially over this last game?
Well, he's always been physical, and you can go back and watch his tape from last year. He's been physical, but, to do that consistently during a game was good to see. Now, he's another guy that has a lot of experience under his belt. So when you put him in the game, he's not deer in headlights, and he just goes out there and plays. But, started off the game with a good hit, and I think that got him going a little bit. And then the guys up front did a really good job for him of keeping people off him. So anytime that you can run around and you're not blocked, it's a credit to the guys that are doing kind of the dirty work up front. But he's always been physical, and he's a headsy ball player too, because he's got experience.
Todd, Colorado runs more per game than any other team in the Pac-12. What have you seen from their run game, and how tough is it, especially when this is a week where you may be a little limited in terms of what you're able to do on-field practice-wise?
That's how you win ball games. You run the football. I mean, the tailback, Broussard's like number 2 in the country in terms of, I think he's averaging like a $158, somewhere around there. And they're being great on third down. They're over 50%, and they got 1 turnover. So from the history of the game, when they put the ball down 120 years ago, if you can run the ball for 220 and be 50% on third down and not turn it over, you're going to win a lot of ball games. So it's a great challenge for us, especially having a little bit of a mobile quarterback to go along with that. But don't make any bones about it. I mean, they're running the ball at a high frequency, and they're putting themselves in really good spots on third down, and they're converting. So if you can do that, you're going to be on the field quite a bit of time. You'll possess the football, and eventually you wear people down. So we'll sit down, with the kids, and they understand it, but it all starts with stopping the run game. If you do that, you got a chance, because it's hard to screw up handing the football off and running downhill. If you make people try to throw the ball on you, at least, you got to find them, throw it, and they got to catch it. So obviously it'd be challenged this week.
Let's go to Antonio.
Todd, I know you guys had a lot of experience installing stuff over Zoom throughout the spring and summer, but is it any different trying to do that during a game week when, the stakes are higher?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's one and the same. Who knows? I'm a kind of a glass half full guy. Maybe yesterday we were going to have a full-fledged practice and somebody was going to get hurt. I don't know. Maybe kids had more time for their finals. Maybe people got more sleep. You know what I'm saying? So but I've learned this throughout my career and in life is, this is you can't control this. So make the best out of it and get the stuff done that you need to get done. And if you got to go into Friday a little bit more, where you normally don't, then that's what you do. So we'll figure it out.
And you didn't work with Vic Soto prior to this season, but what have you learned and what's been your impression of him so far?
He's a really good teacher, technician. He's got great presence to him. There's a ton of things, and he's a really loyal soldier too. So that's those are the things that you get out of him. And we, obviously had not worked with them, but had done enough research on him, and had an opportunity when we brought him up here to do his interview was to go out there on the field and work with him a little bit too, just to get an overall sense. And we knew we had our guy the second that we got out of that.
Ryan Young.
As you look to build off of last week, what's now the next level for this defense? The one thing you want to clean up, or the one area of focus this week?
Well, it's still we're still missing some tackles in space, so we're continue to work on that. There's too many people ricocheting off of us, so we got to be stronger through tackles and open field. So that's probably a big point of emphasis. Obviously you're going to get a team that's going to try to put you in space, and we got to do a good job. And that's this league too. So assuring some of those stuff there were better angles, which was good to see. Not a lot of people cutting the ball back on us like there was in the previous 2 weeks, but just finishing tackles, being stronger, running through contact instead of ricocheting off of people.
And just to understand the options, when you're going with Kanai and Raymond first team on Monday, who is there with CV in the second team?
Right now it's to be seen. We're shuffling guys. Ray Scott will be the other guy. Obviously Ray's playing for us. He's he played last week as a starter on our specialty group on third down. We just didn't run it a lot. So I trust Ray. Ray's working his tail off, and excited about Ray.
And we'll do one last question, Eric McKinney.
Hey, Todd, looking at the defensive line, Marlon has obviously made the plays that show up in the stat sheet. What's he doing maybe that doesn't show up there that's kind of helping the rest of the guys up there up front?
Well, it's actually the stuff that's happening in practice. So to me, he's got a certain presence. Obviously, when you have experience, you play with confidence. But he's a guy that when you look at and you watch him take like drill work, and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy is like, this is Super Bowl play. Games on the line for every drill that he does. So he'll say a few words here and there, but those guys up front really respect the way he goes about. He's super professional. So he helps us as a coaching staff just by going out and showing some of these guys how to work. And it's pretty cool because he's got his little brother, which I'm sure he's done with his whole life, teach him the same exact thing. So, you're seeing people pick up their play collectively from that group. And me, the way I look at it is like, here's the greatest thing as a coach is when you see the hardest worker in a group be the most productive. And you don't have to say anything. If you're a kid and you're looking at it and you say, oh, that guy is, he's getting lucky, or, they're dialing up for him. No, that kid deserves every play that he makes, just based on what type of person he is and the way he works in practice.
Okay, Todd, thank you very much for joining us. I know you got a meeting to get off to. Reminder to the media, we'll have Coach Helton tomorrow at 8 a.m. And also basketball season starts today, this afternoon. We have the women's game against Loyola Marymount at 1 and the men against Cal Baptist at 6, both in the Galen Center. If you need credentials for the women's game, contact Darcy as soon as you can this morning. If you need men's credential, our website, online website closes at noon, so get your request in. And with that, hope to either see you at Galen tonight and or tomorrow with Coach Helton. Thanks for joining us.